There's a ton of information from many, many different sources that we accumulate and evaluate, but it takes time. We're now being able to utilize technology, AI tools, and capabilities to aggregate that data better, quicker, faster, and more efficiently determine whether this is really a good piece of land for us to acquire.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. Our broadcast today comes from our most recent Metis Strategy Digital Symposium. The topic of this conversation is driving digital innovation ahead of disruption. The panelists who we'll hear from are Greg Moore, the Chief Information Officer of KB Home, and Michael Lucas, Chief Information Officer of Wilson Sonsini. The gentleman who led the conversation was Metis Strategy Partner and West Coast Office Lead, Chris Davis. I hope you enjoy.
I'm joined on the stage here by Mike Lucas, the CIO of Wilson Sonsini, and Greg Moore, the CIO of KB Home. Mike and Greg, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thank you, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you. So we've called today's panel Getting Ahead of Digital Disruption. And the reason that we did that is I'm joined by two leaders with 20 years plus of experience in their respective industries. Greg with KB Home, one of the largest design and build to order home builders in the United States. And Mike Lucas, the CIO of Wilson Sonsini, one of the largest law firms in the US that does a lot of work, especially in the technology arena with famous clients such as Google's and others, but working with the mega corporations all the way down to startups. And you might say that historically people would think, well, what are industries that are a little bit slower to adopt technology? It's industries that are centuries old, the legal profession and home building. And you have a lot of pundits that say, oh, this is ripe for disruption. But I personally believe that when you have people with depth, Mike and Greg being prime examples of the industry, you don't have to be disrupted. You have the opportunity to leverage your knowledge, your understanding of the business to stay ahead of quote unquote disruption. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. And so, Greg, I'd like to start with you. Naturally, with KB Home, there's a great opportunity with the consumer to meet a changing generation of home buyers. The digital experience was sort of accelerated through things like COVID. And your business model is such that you want to do personalization at scale. And I'd love for you, Greg, to sort of kick us off with how you're thinking about leveraging technology, data, and in some cases, perhaps AI, to make sure that you're moving your company ahead of quote unquote disruption that may be coming your way.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So KB Home, our primary target market is first-time home buyers and first-time move-up. And for us, that segment of the market right now is right square in the middle of the millennials and the Gen Z generations being in the prime years of when they're going to buy their first home. That range is usually, typically for most people, 25 to 40, somewhere in that range. And that right now is crossing over the millennials and the Gen Z generational groupings, if you will. Those groups are interesting because the expectations from their standpoint are different than previous generations. They have grown up with technology. And as you say, with the pandemic, life is digital. They expect to be able to do things online, remotely, without having to physically go somewhere and do things. Things get delivered to them, at the click of a button. And the home buying experience is evolving. That front-end engagement is, we call it the home buying journey, is evolving to an educational experience that spans sometimes just a short time, a couple of months for somebody. Sometimes it spans years as they shop and investigate and become knowledgeable about buying their first home. And what we're seeing is that elevated expectation for being able to really almost see and feel and touch it without physically visiting the community. So the 3D virtual walkthroughs, the experience of being able to look at a kitchen and select different tiles and countertops and color combinations and say, that's what I want my kitchen to look like, is critical and important to them in kind of getting the feel for, yes, this is the community, this is the floor plan, this is the house that makes sense for me and my needs. So that experience, the front end digital experience, is central to engagement with our customers. And we're not even going to get them to come close to come visiting one of our communities if we can't engage with them digitally in the right manner.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, there's the opportunity to be disintermediated by the likes of Zillow, Redfin, and others, but instead you're embracing this opportunity to meet the customer where they are and then engage with them over the lifespan of that decision that is obviously incredibly important, and then move them through the workflow as efficiently as possible. Like you said, being able to customize within range in order to manage your own supply chain economics. And Mike, similarly, and we have an interesting balance of B2C and B2B here. Naturally, the legal field is different in business model, but you have a shifting degree of expectations from your clients of how do we become more scalable, more efficient, a little bit more technology forward. And one of the things that Wilson Sonsini has recently introduced is its AI-driven sort of legal assistant, if you will, Neuron. And I'd love for you, Mike, to talk a little bit about how Wilson Sonsini is also staying ahead of disruption by looking at the landscape and saying, we're going to create our future rather than have it be done to us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And you know, Greg, one thing that we do have in common, I think, Chris and Greg, is we don't often have that sort of personal client engagement, you know, where people are coming to offices or people are coming to the homes to look at models, right? Same kind of thing. It's all about trying to drive a digital experience, and hopefully you get some of that on the back end. But, you know, what I would say is certainly we are focused on client-facing opportunities, you know, that benefit our clients and also the firm. You know, and I think AI is ripe or ripening to enable new business models and service delivery channels, certainly for law firms, you know, online platforms, chatbots, smart contracts, all designed to expand their reach and efficiency. But the two examples, one I want to talk about is the one you highlight, which is Neuron. So the story here is about 3 or 4 years ago, our tech innovation arm adopted a digital first sort of mentality. So we created a digital platform, completely automated for incorporations, for safe financings, NDAs, and more to come. And, you know, obviously we wanted to scale and add and adapt. And most recently, the firm introduced Neuron Commercial, which offers high quality and high accurate contract analysis and redlining, optimal review and negotiation using a Wilson Sonsini playbook. And of course, this is a fixed fee opportunity, which I'll get into a little bit more in a moment, because this is sort of one of the pivots I think many firms are struggling with. But it's AI infused, it's fast, it's efficient, lots of signs pointing to some good early uptake here. And I should emphasize, you know, our lawyers and our clients, they expect perfection in documents. So lawyers are trained, documents need to be perfect. And so there's always a final review by a lawyer. We're always very, very careful about making sure that our work product is right as it goes out the door. The other quick mention, Chris, if I might, is, you know, a number of years ago, we started a company called 650, and it's a different model. You know, it helps us jumpstart small to mid-sized companies. You know, we initially started with privacy and GDPR and have shifted to employment, but we're providing an online experience for customers, not clients, that can buy and get an early start on you know, addressing some of the challenges that they have as a startup or as a small company. Can buy things online, and we don't have to onboard them as clients, they're customers, again, fixed price. And, you know, I think that's really kind of that sort of end-to-end platform and experience for a subset of our customer base that, you know, really they don't need high-end bespoke legal work. So this is a nice sweet spot for us. You know, it's a SaaS platform, and I just wanted to mention that. But those are two examples where we have really been thoughtful and deliberate about opportunities where we think we can service, you know, from low end to the very high end of the market.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, whether it's the customer client experience or it's unlocking new business models, the third dimension is often around how do you accelerate your core business operations. And Greg, you shared an example with me about how KB Home has leveraged data and many other components. I won't steal your thunder in order to make the investment decision about where do you buy real estate? How do you place the market? I wonder, Greg, if you can sort of speak to how, like Mike was saying, you're keeping a human in the loop, but you're also accelerating your scalability and therefore, ultimately able to pass on some of that profit savings to customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the old adage in real estate is location, location, location is everything. So for a company like KB Home, a production builder, buying the right property in the right place at the right time is a key element to our success. No matter how good our product is, no matter how good our reputation, if it's a bad place, a bad location, and we bought at the wrong price, it's going to be very difficult for us to be profitable and hit the margins we expect as a public company that we're committed to providing to our shareholders. So that front end land acquisition process is absolutely critical to the success of our business. And the number of land deals that we're looking at and evaluating is tremendous. It's a large scale operation, and across 35 different geographic markets, we're evaluating, multiple land deals every single week, deciding should we or shouldn't we move forward and buy this piece of property. Aggregating the geospatial and demographic data around a piece of property to determine whether that's a good piece of property or a bad piece of property is both an art and a science. There's a ton of information from many, many different sources that we accumulate and evaluate. And we have people with great deal of experience in doing this for many years, but it takes time. We're now being able to utilize technology, AI tools and capabilities to aggregate that data better, quicker, faster, and more efficiently, be able to see the key elements that help us in that decision-making process and determine whether this is really a good piece of land for us to acquire. So that process is, I think, getting faster and better because of the technology that we're infusing in, being able to make better decisions and have the aggregate and pull that data together and see the trending in a much more rapid fashion.
And just to ballpark it, Greg, like how much faster are we talking here?
So typically for us, a land package is a big, thick book of all these different elements that we're looking at around a piece of property and what we're going to build on it and how it pencils out to what kind of margins we expect we can make. What's the investment? What's the time frame? What's the target margins that we think we can make on that piece of property once it's built out and sold. That land package process typically for us has taken anywhere from 30 to 90 days in the past. And we're pulling that to where we can really do a full evaluation and create a land package in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
And certain elements of that process that used to take 3 weeks of somebody's time to really analyze and pull together all that data, and we're doing in a matter of hours. So the whole process is getting condensed, and we're able to get equal or better data than we were from more sources, aggregating and pulling and looking at what we want, and massage that in a way that we can, make decisions much more rapidly. And that allows us to have more deals in the flow, more pieces of land we can evaluate to find the right ones.
Yeah, wow, 50 to 90% improvement. That's crazy. I mean, that's phenomenal. Especially while your consumers have a long time to make their decision, sometimes you have to make a decision before the next person comes along and buys the property. Terry, if you don't mind, let's bring up the results of the poll, please. Let's take a look at how people responded. So, which macro issue do you anticipate will have the biggest impact on your organization in the year ahead? Interesting. The rapid evolution of AI beating out inflation and interest rates. I'm not sure if that would be the same answer for you, Greg, with the home buying experience. But for sure, this is clearly telling us where many people's mind is, just in terms of all else that's going on in the world. Change is still a constant. And to that point, Mike, you've thought a lot about driving organizational change. And again, like, people have this image of the legal field as sort of tried and true and practice, and extremely well educated people with their leather-bound books in their offices. And whether it's technology but in particular AI, you've had to drive a lot of education and think a lot about upskilling and how to prepare the workforce for what's coming. Can you share a little bit about how you've approached driving this organizational change, of getting excited about technology in order to stay ahead of disruption?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. This is really, really a critical area, I think. I think we've started with sort of a general awareness campaign. We're consistently focused on sort of cascading communications in the firm generally. And so if whether it's from employee town halls where, I might present our sort of general AI strategy to admin and legal departments, and provide briefings to our department leaders and our partners, it's really important that people kind of understand, and you have a little bit of an elevator pitch about what you're trying to do generally, so that all the people in the firm that are seeing all these media events and all these things that are coming, every day, and everything that they read about AI, that you want to give them an impression that you have a good strategy, right? And I think, it's a strategy where we really feel like we need to learn, we need to understand, we need to enrich, and then we need to apply and apply/operationalize. And so we're not in a big hurry. We feel that, all firm stakeholders need to kind of have a grasp of this. We need to allow access to the technologies, whatever technologies that we're evaluating. And I think that so far has bode well. We haven't really invested a significant amount of money on some flashy new platform. We're certainly doing lots of pilots, but it's really a cultural change, Chris. I think where we're trying to make sure that people understand we have a great opportunity here. There's plenty of product out there, whether they be enterprise solutions or bespoke kind of things we want to do, targeted things for our clients. A lot of opportunities, some big and some small. If you look at our client base, because you touched on this, Chris, we represent tons of technology companies. Of course, many of them are AI companies or want to be AI companies. A lot of investment focused on legal tech. And so, as a CIO of Wilson Sonsini, I'm always trying to balance there's this reciprocity, right, where I'm introduced to a lot of things, which can be challenging from a strategy perspective to stay the course. But also, it allows us early looks at things. And I think that's an appealing thing as well. And so, that sort of DNA of the firm kind of helps us in terms of adopting emerging technology and always focused on a sound strategy. And I think that so far has lent itself well for us. Yeah.
Yeah, and Greg, similarly, like the legal workforce is also shifting over, and you're getting newer lawyers who are digital natives. The same is true for the home building and construction industry, where people probably have images of paper spread out over the cab of a pickup truck in order to do home building. But part of KB Home's DNA has been, in order to scale, whether it's custom build, construction project management tools or otherwise, it's always been part of the way that the company is operated. So I'm wondering, how do you continue to drive that organizational change when you have the corporate office, but you also have people in the field, and they might be almost operating at different speeds and different planes, and the needs are actually quite different?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I think, just like our customer is evolving and we're getting digital native buyers, that experience is critical. The same is happening with our workforce as well, in all aspects, front office and back office, and kind of on site at our construction sites. So the ability to do their job, to see and feel and know what's next and how to manage their projects all from a mobile device or a tablet in the field is critical. They no longer write everything down on a clipboard and go back to an office or send it in for somebody to key in, schedule updates and work order changes and field POs that need to go to a trade partner. All those things can happen with the click of a button on site immediately, and they can update and move schedules and communicate with trade partners in advance without having to make phone calls and send faxes and all the stuff that they used to do to try to manage their job site production operations. So that digital experience and the timeliness of it, being able to do all of those things at the click of a button quickly and in the field, allows our superintendents to do more, to manage more job sites, and to communicate more effectively with our trade partners who are a critical cog in the wheel. The last thing we want is a trade partner showing up and the job site is not ready for them because the previous trade wasn't finished and didn't get an inspection and something happened and now they're there. They've wasted time on a trip and people on site. And if they can't do their job, they've got to turn around, leave, and come back another time. It's very expensive for them. So that efficiency in our process is critical to making things work.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what's so similar about both journeys that your organizations are on is there's this clear recipe that's working, and there's pretty high barrier to entry, whether it's the legal field or capital to buy large properties and build homes. And you're staying ahead of the game, looking at what is the emerging expectation from the customer or the client. How do we digitalize the workflows within our organization of what is automatable? What can we streamline? How do we then personalize, whether it's configuring my kitchen cabinets or it's configuring my contract in order to do employment law in a new country? And then also, how do you drive that change and make it part of the DNA so you're not just pushing, but there's sort of this pull, because that feedback loop is really what enables companies with robust histories and heritages to remain at the front edge of their respective industries. So we just have 2 minutes left. I'll ask for a 30-second answer for each of you. So I intentionally tried to stay away from AI until this point. But when you look at how AI can bring benefit to your respective industries, give me the 30-second, what's most exciting? What's the most exciting use case, whether you're investing in it or not, that you see in the next, horizon? I won't even put a time on it. And Mike, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say, operationalizing all that we've talked about, right? Providing tools to all employees. I think this is an all-employee thing. I think more efficient workflows and automation is our focus. Whether that, as I mentioned, large language models or integrated enterprise applications or bots or Microsoft Copilot, all of which, we're aiming to drive efficiency to reduce firm expense and drive revenue and productivity. So most importantly, obviously we're focused on our clients. And so the use cases for us are client-facing use cases. Neuron Commercial, certainly the example I was prompted at the beginning, but we feel like there are many others. One of the areas I'll just focus on, because I only have 2 seconds, is pricing and trying to make sure that we can apply this technology to help us price our work more effectively, especially as we gravitate toward more of the fixed price opportunities.
Got it. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Mike. Greg, how about for you?
Totally different industry than the legal profession, but the key components there are exactly the same. We're a public company. We're measured on that 90-day shot clock, how we're performing. So raising the bar for us, getting better efficiency, productivity in our processes, and better probabilities of success at the target margins. And one of those aspects is pricing for us. Real estate pricing is critical to know the competition. How are they pricing things down the street, down the road, across town that are the competitors, whether it's resale or other new communities, new homes. having visibility and aggregating that pricing data and being able to move our prices accordingly to maximize our margins is critical. And we're looking at use cases that are going to help us leverage AI technology to get that data in a way that we can take advantage of, knowing more of what's happening in the market, in the local market for specific homes, specific product and communities.
Awesome. Well, Mike and Greg, this has been a fantastic conversation. I just really like also just bringing the practicality of how do we stay ahead of disruption by remaining true to our core. What's the customer and client problem? How do we streamline our business operations? How do we leverage data to get more scalable and improve and learn? And then, of course, enable the workforce. Mike and Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great conversation.